It's going to be weird for me for a minute because I've got the YouTube version of this in my ears. And that's how much it's delayed. It's pretty sweet. Ready in advance today. Echo. Hey, I like it. So if we get 21 people to join us online, we'll have 100% attendance today. Either my lecture was that good last week or it was that bad, huh? I'm going to just wait to start on time. I've got what today? Timer. Yeah, well, because we started before the time instead of after the time today. I also have my tie today. I get married wearing this tie. I decided that the wig was one and done. But it's in my office, so, you know, if you want to come hang out, we'll get a cup of coffee. I do have my WPI coffee mug. Anybody here have friends that go to MIT? Anybody? You do? Really? Because didn't you know that friends don't let friends go to MIT? You were going there before you came here? They were going. Well, that's... Anyways. Quality in manufacturing today. I have a strategery planned here. It wasn't exactly what I meant to do. That's what I meant to do. I do have a strategery today on the screens, which the camera can't see, so it's not really a fractal. On the screens are the things that are getting broadcast in the YouTube Live, and I don't use Echo because I can't control where the Echo camera points, and I can't control what it focuses on. The one that's that one and that one, I can't control the zoom. I can't control what it focuses on. And hey, with this, I can do fancy camera work if I want to. Again, I could close up the class. You might be. So I was using music to get ready for class. Who does something to get ready for stuff? You do? What's your thing?
I wake up.
You wake up, woke up, got out of bed, drug a comb across my head. No.
I always go through everything in my backpack.
Go through everything. That sounds a little OCD.
I walked into this room.
You walked into this room,
Yeah, I just
walked around the track. I like that one. That's the best one yet. I mean, I like making sure you have stuff in your backpack. I like being awake, like out of bed. When we were doing classes on Zoom, there was people not out. My oldest daughter was homeschooled in an online school for 3 years. She never got out of bed to go to school. Somebody over here, you had your hand up.
Yeah.
I know your name too, but I forgot. What's your name? Say again? Amrith. No, I didn't know that one before. But we've talked before.
We did.
Amrith.
Not necessarily for classes, but I always do the shake it off kind of thing. for
Like
dance
this.
practice.
Oh, for dance practice and stuff like that. Everybody stand up. All right, put your right index finger on your nose. I didn't say Simon Says. But no, seriously, stand up, get some energy, move around. When the blood is flowing to your head, you learn better. And who's ever, you guys can sit down again. Who's ever felt, what's the word? Sleepy in class. Who's ever felt sleepy in class? All right, if you didn't raise your hand, you lie about other stuff too, right? So we've all been sleepy in class before. Who knows what to do when you feel sleepy in class? What do? Coffee. See, I came prepared. I'm not going to share though. I don't think that would be COVID safe or monkeypox safe for that. Banging your head on something? Because it usually hits the desk when you lose all that muscle support in your upper back. I told you guys about the time I fell asleep in class, right? It was directly below us, in the classroom directly below us. It was macroeconomics. I was getting my social science credit taken care of in macroeconomics. Maybe it was microeconomics. I don't really remember. Fell asleep in that class. Woke up in the middle of some double E lecture. It was in the middle of the row too. I wasn't like on the end. People like went past me and yeah. All right. If you do feel like you fall asleep in class and you don't want to, I mean, you could always watch the video. Did anybody watch last week's video? Nobody? I recommend watching the videos at 2x speed because I can't talk like this all the time. So just do it at 2x speed. If he says something interesting, go back. You can always slow it down. I always listen to the game videos at 2x speed. So, but if you do actually feel sleepy, tired, anything like that, it is totally okay to stand up, go to the back of the room, stand next to the wall. If you're worried about missing something because you might fall asleep, I suppose it's totally okay to just do this. But as soon as you're fully asleep, I guarantee we will, what's the word? Pick on you. Point you out, maybe do some fancy camera work and zoom in on you, because it's fun. One day I was handing out the course. You guys done course evaluation? Who's not a first year student? So you've all done course evaluation forms for classes before? So until last year, they were on paper. Yeah, I mean they started a hybrid of paper plus online a couple years ago. But maybe it was 2 years ago they went fully online. But they were on paper until just recently. And so I remember there was I don't remember which class. I often try to like order pizza for class on the day that they're due and stuff like that. Never actually works. But there was a kid fell asleep, head down, fully asleep when I was handing out those course evaluation forms. So I just lifted up his elbow, slid it underneath, put his elbow back down, never woke up. Everybody else thought it was funny. We could do it on camera now. Okay. Quality in manufacturing. I had a prop that I wanted to bring to the class. Wasn't as cool as the wig, but I couldn't bring myself to bring it because it was a stack of textbooks about this tall, if you stack them up on the desk. And I've been working out, but I just didn't want to do that. But so imagine a stack of textbooks about this tall on the desk. All of them manufacturing engineering textbooks. All of them I got for free because the publishers said, hey, you teach a class in manufacturing engineering. You should make your students buy our $160 textbook. And I said, no, because if I did, I mean, one of them is the textbook that I used in this class when I took this class in 1994, I don't know, somewhere in that range. I looked at all these textbooks, but so I said no to the make you guys buy the textbook because we'd use like 4 chapters of it. And you either wouldn't buy it, you'd like rent it. You can rent them now. Is that a thing? You would either rent it, you would borrow it from a friend. You would get the old, you know why they have new editions on textbooks? To sell more. That's the only reason. And sometimes in the new edition, all they do is change the order of the questions at the end of the chapter. It's really stupid. It's a racket. That's the word, racket, not the tennis kind. So anyways, we wouldn't use the textbook very much. I do have some reading. It is a draft that I haven't posted all the sections of, but we will get to the rest of the sections. I think we're up through next week with the reading stuff posted in the syllabus, which is live now. It was ready last week, but I forgot to make it live last week. So it's there now. And where was I going? Textbooks. Oh, anyway, so I actually was contacted by a publisher who wants to publish the book I'm writing, which would be a textbook for this class. And I said, well, I want the price point to be $14. They said, oh, we can't publish a $14 book. I says, well, why not? I mean, I've bought a lot of $14 books. He said, no, we have to publish. It's got to be at least $90. I said, you know what? I'll stick with self-published and I'll let the students have it for $14. Because, anyways, but so chapter 2 of textbook of the book I'm writing is about quality. Parts of that are in the reading. Did anybody do the reading? Anybody see it? I didn't post it until this morning, so probably not. Anyway, there's a reading that goes along with this lecture. I put quality as chapter 2 in my textbook because I think quality is important to manufacturing. All those stacked up textbooks, the ones that other professors assign to their students, require them to pay whatever $165 for the book. Quality is in every single one of them. Quality is the final chapter of the book. I suppose that's good. It closes things out, right? It brings it to, and hey, but you know what it really is? It's, oh, shit, we forgot to talk about quality. That's got to be important in manufacturing. We should put a chapter in about quality. What do we know about quality? And so what they have in that chapter about quality is a lot of math, a lot of statistics. And you can imagine that if you're doing high volume production, statistics could come in handy, right? So they put a lot of statistics. They put in a lot of stuff that comes from actually lean manufacturing, which we're going to talk about in the class. And it was clear to me that none of those authors have ever put a part in a box and shipped it to a customer. So what is manufacturing? Right, we spent like 20 minutes on Thursday defining what is manufacturing. What is manufacturing? Yep.
Making goods out of something to sell to people.
Making goods out of something to sell to people. So manufacturing, is making stuff out of stuff to sell to making stuff out of stuff to sell to people. That's what we define manufacturing as, right? How do we know the people want your stuff? Yep. They pay you for it, right? What happens if they pay you for it and they realize it's not what they wanted? Right, so often in manufacturing, they get the stuff and they have the choice of whether or not to pay you after they have the stuff in their hands. The way, especially when it's, so we'll talk about different types of structures of these kind of manufacturing businesses. And so since manufacturing is making stuff out of stuff to sell to people, it is a business. And I know this is an engineering class. It's not a management class, not a school of business class. I get it. Everybody stand up again. Sit back down if you have a trust fund and never need a job. It has happened that somebody sat down when I asked that question. So the rest of us are going to need a job someday, right? You can sit down. Whether you want to be design engineers or manufacturing engineers, if you want to design stuff or make stuff, you're probably going to work at a company that makes stuff, right? And if you work at a company that makes stuff, they're probably making it with the intent to sell it to people. There's some exceptions. There are companies that make stuff that don't intend to sell it to people. They typically get funded by grants from the government, and what they're trying to do is develop new technology, and they often have no intent to sell it to people. I would call that making, maybe in manufacturing science, something like that. But it is a business. In those course evaluation forms I was talking about, one term I got complaints from several people on the forum that I talked too much about business in an engineering class. And so after that, I go through the exercise of saying that, we want to work at a company that's not going to fail. So we will talk a little bit about that, but it is an engineering class. So we're going to focus on the engineering side of it. But quality is what allows the business to continue to work. And if you've never shipped a part to a customer, I don't think that you can truly understand quality. If you've never put yourself in that, especially if did you know that 70% of manufacturing in the United States happens at companies at less than 50 people? 70%. And last week we agreed that it's manufacturing that drives our economy. So 70% of our economy is driven by businesses with less than 70 people. A lot of those businesses have less than 10 people. And so if you've got a business with less than 10 people, maybe you're doing about $1 million, $1.5 million every year in revenue. So maybe you're selling $100,000 a month in revenue, somewhere in that range. And you've got a customer that after you spent all the money to make them the parts, and after you paid all your employees, they don't pay for the parts. In fact, they may charge you for the fact that you sent them bad parts. It might be in the contract. They may make you receive the parts back. They may keep the parts, use them anyway, but still not pay you for them because they were out of spec. Wow. So if you've never been in that situation, and that's most of the people that write manufacturing textbooks. They're college professors, right? I mean, who writes textbooks? College professors. Most of them are college professors. They don't own manufacturing companies. They don't ship parts to customers. So I get that. But And so I have a different perspective than a lot of those guys on quality. You guys all have a perspective on what quality means too, right? Is there anybody that's here that does not already know what quality is? Cool, let's go home. Right, we all have an idea of quality, right? We live with quality all day long. Check this out. I have slides, and we're going to use the slides. If I can remember where they are. This one. That's the one. Woo! All right. It's going to be that walk along the track is going to help you out today, getting warmed up, because we're gonna get up again in just a second. But let's see. You can see the slide. I can now see the slide and I can advance it. Yeah. Okay. We got 3 car manufacturers represented here. I've got Mercedes, Chevrolet, and Kia. So does anybody not have an opinion which is the highest quality? You have no opinion?
I have like no concept of cars or how they work.
Okay. All right, so
I don't know the difference between the gas and the brake pedal.
cool. I think that's cool for
I knocked down a wall in my garage.
I actually think that's cool for several reasons. One, because I didn't expect to hear that. And 2, because you admitted that to the whole class. That's a a person that's secure in their selfness could talk about that. A lot of people would not want to say that because it's different from everybody else. So I guess, what do we do when we don't have an opinion? Everybody, not you. You can't answer. What do we do when we don't have an opinion?
Research.
We can research, but what do we typically do?
Ask a friend.
Ask a friend. Do you have any friends? Don't answer that. That was. Of course you have friends. They may not be in the room, but you know what? Pick somebody in the room and follow them for the purpose of the exercise. All right. So if you think that Mercedes is the highest value or highest quality, go aggregate around that corner over there, or maybe this corner up here. So come down to stand somewhere near here. Mercedes, Kia, and Chevrolet are your options. So between them, if you like Chevrolet, come over here, and if you like Kia, go to the back in the middle. Cars all cost money unless you steal them. So Kia is top center. Let's see, I can. That is me. Yeah, I can make the slide bigger. So if I understand how they did this study, they talked to the car dealerships and they looked at the data that was collected of new cars coming back, so initial quality, and problems per 100 vehicles. So Kia reported 72 problems per 100 vehicles. Mercedes recorded 102 problems per 100 vehicles, and Chevy was somewhere in the middle. So which one has the highest quality? Regardless of our opinion. So who votes for Kia? Oh wait, let me change my question. Who would change their vote? What did you vote for originally?
Mercedes.
So you would change your vote. What did you vote for? Keep your hands up if you want to change your vote. Same? Chevy. Who'd you vote for originally? Mercedes. Who'd you vote for originally? Mercedes. Who'd you vote for originally? Mercedes. So the Chevy people, except for you, are hard and fast Chevy people, huh? So what do we actually know from this study, though? What's the data that we have? It's possible that Mercedes people complain more. People buying Mercedes expect a higher degree of quality or customer satisfaction, at least. Yeah.
It doesn't really tell us what the problems are. Like
It doesn't.
Like a scratch where the Kia could just completely break down.
The Mercedes problem could be that I lost my second key, right? I mean, and it could be that the transmission doesn't work, right? So we don't know. So why does J.D. Power do studies like this? No, I don't think so.
For the consumers to have information, right?
But we've just determined we have no information. We have a picture. To regulate quality, they want us to believe that. Yeah. To give out awards, because that's what J.D. Power does, right? Who pays them to give out awards? Pretty sure it's the people in the industry that they're giving the awards to, right? So when we look at data like this, when we look at information like this, we need to be careful to understand what it means. But this isn't about data analysis, right? This is about quality in manufacturing. So what is quality in manufacturing? It's subjective, right? Or at least quality in our mind is subjective, right? Some of us, when we saw the data from J.D. Power, we changed our minds, even though, and I think a lot of us picked Mercedes at the beginning because, we feel like it has a reputation for having high quality. We feel like German cars are more precise because they're Germans, they are very precise, right? We feel like that. And so it's an emotional thing. We have a feeling that it gives us quality. I think also a lot of us want to be driving one of those cool cars someday, right? So that's why we picked that. I think a lot of people that picked Chevy picked it because I'm a Chevy guy. My dad was a Chevy guy. My grandpa was a Chevy guy. We always have Chevys, right? And so a lot of that consumer level appreciation of quality is very subjective. And it has to do with how well do the marketing people talk about quality. Anybody drive a Lexus, have a Lexus? There was a commercial in the 90s that Lexus did. It was all about the quality of their construction. It's the, if anybody's ever restored old vehicles and stuff, they actually have turntables. You could put a car on a turntable and you can rotate it around. It helps like the whole car assembled. You can flip it around and look at all the different sides of it. And they use them for painting, repair work, body work, stuff like that. Anyway, so they had this Lexus on a turntable, and they took a ball from a ball bearing about, I don't know, inch in diameter or something like that. So a steel ball, and they put it on one of the seam between the hood and the fender, and they let it roll down the seam, and then they turned the car around and it just rolled and followed these seams around. So in their mind, because it was all about the quality of construction. In their mind, as long as all the body panels line up, it's a quality vehicle. Right? I mean, that's an important thing, especially if you're buying a used car. If you ever go to buy a used car, check to make sure all the body panels line up. Because if they don't, it's been in an accident, whether it's on the Carfax or not. So customers' perception of quality is very subjective, very unique. That doesn't help us in manufacturing, right? Because we're trying to run a damn business here. We're not trying to be squishy feely. And besides, most of us are engineers or have that engineer mentality. Otherwise, we would not be sitting in this room. And we don't like squishy things like feelings, right? Feelings are hard for us. We get emotional talking about feelings, right? So as engineers, we don't want to have to deal with feelings. What would we rather deal with as engineers? Numbers. What even better? Graphs of numbers, right? We do like pictures, right? So the good news is a lot of what we talk about when we talk about quality of manufacturing isn't the squishy feely kind of quality. It's the kind where we have a customer and the customer is another business. So we like numbers, they like numbers, because we can talk about numbers. We can put numbers in a contract. We can't put, I don't want to feel sad when I look at the parts that come in. Right? We can't put that in our contract. Well, I mean, we could, but ain't nobody doing business with us then. So quality, it's not really just in the eye of the beholder if we're talking about engineering. And there's actually there's a society of quality engineers. Automations in the slides. Look at that. Who would have thunk it? So the ASQ, American Society of Quality, something like that, I don't know. All these American societies, we have ASM, ASTM, ASME, all these societies used to stand for American something, something, something. And now they've all shortened their name to just the initials so that they could have their meetings in Trinidad and Tobago or China, or so that they could be an international society. So all they did was shorten their name to not say American anymore, but ASQ used to be the American Society of Quality Engineers. They even define it as a subjective term, but it's really not. It really can be specified. So they talk about characteristics of products that bear on its ability to perform. Now, this is getting closer to what quality really is in manufacturing. Characteristics of a product or service that bear on its ability to satisfy stated or implied needs. And so this is how the ISO also used to be International Standards Organization, or something in French that means International Standards Organization. They've also shortened them to just ISO. The characteristics of a product or service that bear on its ability to satisfy stated or implied needs. Which do we prefer as engineers? Stated. Implied needs sound kind of squishy, right? They sound, could be emotional even, right? We want to stay away from emotions and squishy ideas as engineers. So we would like stated needs if we're going to address our quality. Who states the needs? The customer states the needs, right? So we, as the manufacturing engineers, as the people running the manufacturing business, We don't get to state the quality needs. Our customers state the quality needs. How do they tell us what the quality needs are?
Could give us a drawing of the part.
They could give us a drawing of the part. So if we're going to do quality, we're going to need a drawing. Is that the only way they could tell us the quality of the part? So the drawing should include tolerances. Anybody remember what we defined tolerances as last time? How much the manufacturer is allowed to screw up and have it still be a good part. Right? So if you say, I want these rolls and I want them to be, what is that, 8 inches, 9.5 inches long. And they've got to be exactly 9.5 inches long. If I'm the customer and I say that exactly, and you're the manufacturer, what do you say to me?
With what temperature?
So there's a good question. At what temperature should I measure them? Right? What else do you say to me? The more precisely 9 inches you want it, but no, I don't want it more precise. I want it precise, exactly 9.5 inches. It's got to be. I won't accept it if it's not exactly 9.5 inches. As the manufacturer, I'm going to ask you, how are you going to measure that? Because all I've got to do is get a measurement tool that measures better than yours. And if they measure 9 inches on mine, they'll measure 9 inches on yours. Right? But it's not a valid requirement if it doesn't have a tolerance, right? And so we have a whole lecture where we talk about how to pick the right tolerances. But it's got to have a tolerance because we've got to be able to have some wiggle room. Nothing, even if it was exactly 9.5 inches, nobody would ever know because we don't have any measurement equipment that doesn't have errors involved with it, right? So you couldn't, even if it was exactly 9.5 inches, you'd never know. So we've got to have a drawing with tolerances. How else does the customer give us the information about quality? They may put it in a contract or purchase order. The PO becomes a contract once you accept it and send it back to them. The contract or PO will almost always refer to a drawing. So the customers will give us a drawing, something that defines it. So what information goes on a drawing? Is there any other way that the customer might tell us the quality that they expect? Yeah. They may tell us how much money they're willing to spend on it. Typically but they want the quality they want regardless of how much money they're willing to spend on it. So I don't think that really conveys any information. Now, if we're talking about the consumer customer, so in this case, we're talking about B2B. So this is my business selling to your business. It's not my business selling to you as a consumer. I think if we're talking about that B2C market where the manufacturing business is selling directly to consumers, then yeah, we can understand what quality they expect by doing some price comparisons, by making some different variants and seeing which one sells faster. I think it was Kia. No. Kia is a Korean car manufacturer, right? But so is Hyundai. So it was one of those two. I don't remember which one. It was when they first entered the U.S. market. There's a guy who's a professor at MIT at the time, a Korean guy that was a professor at MIT, and they couldn't sell any cars in the U.S. market, and they hired him to do some consulting, and he said, "Well, double your price." They doubled the price, sales went up. Didn't change the car, doubled the price. It had a higher perceived quality because it cost more. So you can do some weird marketing stuff like that when you're dealing with squishy consumers. But let's keep this conversation to B2B type sales. Yeah.
Physical specifications,
So-
size and like.
So we may have, in addition to the drawing with the tolerances, we may have other specs. So specifications, and it could be on a spec sheet, a listing of these are the specifications it must meet. Typically, a spec sheet would be attached to a drawing, or might have drawings as attachments to it. But yeah, so anybody else got any way the customer would tell us? Yeah.
What material they wanted out of.
So the spec sheet has to include information about materials. The drawing should also include materials information. The specifications usually go on a drawing. Yeah. Go ahead, either one. Say again. FOD. So typically with FOD, we're like talking about on a runway. Oh, you mean, so contamination. You would put, if it needed a specific cleanliness, and so this is really important for stuff that gets installed in like a clean room. So I used to install fire suppression systems, like sprinkler systems, stuff like that in a previous career. And we would install them in clean rooms sometimes. And we had to very carefully clean everything before we could even bring it into the clean room to install it. So yeah, so you'd have a specification for that, maybe on a separate sheet, like a spec sheet, as opposed to in the drawing. Yeah.
How they want you to manufacture it, whether it's like.
They might even specify how to manufacture it. They may give us specifications for use this process to make it. Typically, they don't, but they may do that. Did you have?
I was gonna say the same thing, 'cause, like, when I was in quality, there were a lot of manufacturing spec sheets that told us what we had to perform at.
Yep. So you worked in quality at a manufacturing company? Cool. Was it fun? Yeah. Did the people in the shop try to get stuff by you? Yes. If we have time we're not gonna have time at the end. Sometime, if we have time, we should talk about lining up machines in paper mills, and but not today. All right. So our customers, our other businesses, they basically give us drawings with tolerances and lists of specifications. We sign a contract with them when we accept their purchase order that says we're going to meet those specifications. So is that sufficient then? So if I ship you the parts and I've met all of your specifications and I ship you the parts, is that sufficient to get paid? Do you guys have something to add to this?
Yeah, say like the manufacturer can like send a sample.
So often you do a sample part or an initial part or setup part. So very often, and I do have a story about a setup part. We had a customer. So the total purchase order value was $200,000 ish. It was 574, 594, something in that range, almost $600 per piece. Until we had spent the almost $200,000. They had some number of parts they wanted, but nobody in the world had ever made this part before. It was made out of a material that is almost impossible to machine, and the tolerances and specifications on the part were difficult to achieve in an easy to machine material. So of that $200,000, the first $25,000 was for making that for initial part, for making that sample part. $25,000 to make the first part, and 500 something for each part after that was in the contract. So yeah, you often do a first part. Yeah.
I feel like a big one we're missing is the time that they want the part back by.
So read their drawing, meet all their tolerances, hit everything that's on the spec sheet, and we deliver the parts to them 2 weeks after they needed to ship their assembly to their customer. Because often we're like 3 or 4 or 5 levels away from the end user. Right, so our company makes parts that go on airplanes, but we're not selling them to Boeing. We're selling them to another company that's putting them in an assembly that's selling them to another company that's then selling them to Boeing, right? So we don't ever talk to the customer. And if we're not on time, they're not going to want to pay us, right? So quality manufacturing has to have all these things, right? It has to meet the drawing tolerances and the specifications, but it also has to be on time. So if you're taking notes, this would be a good thing to write down. Giving the customer what they need when quality in manufacturing is giving the customer what they need when they need it. Oops. So giving the customer what they need when they need it. Now, I said this might be a good thing to write down. Can I share this? It'll be a pain to share it, but I can talk about it, and you guys are smart, right? Ish. You fooled enough people to get into here. So keep fooling people. There's when you look at the syllabus, and there's a video on the first page of the syllabus that talks about the syllabus. The audio's off there. I'm going to see if I can render it again and re-upload it, but I won't change the content. So you can listen to it with the audio that sounds a little scratchy, or you can wait until the audio doesn't sound scratchy, or you can just read the captions. Syllabus. It says on the syllabus that 40% of your grade is based on participation. It's really closer to 60% if you add the stuff up correctly. But this 72 people registered for the class, right? So I have notes up here, and I'm writing down who answered questions. There's no way that's going to happen. You believe me, right? But they say in life, 80% of life is showing up. So how do I know if you showed up? And is showing up and sleeping in the back really good enough? I pointed that direction, but there was nobody over there sleeping. Sorry. Is just showing up. So you got to do a little bit more than just show up. So for every lecture time period, I'm doing a little, it's deployed as a quiz. I hate to call it a quiz because quiz seems like high pressure activity, right? This is not intended to be high pressure activity. It's intended to make you think again about the topic of the lecture. And to prepare you for the comprehensive final exam, which is worth 10% of your grade, which we're going to do in the last week of the term. So some of the questions on the non-quiz quizzes will be the same questions that will appear later on the final exam. And some of the questions will simply be there to see if you've thought about the topic that we covered in class. So there's 2 questions on the quiz for today. I decided they're going to be due midnight the day after the day of the lecture. I've also decided in the syllabus, there's this whole section on what to do about late assignments, and they're all going to have due dates. instead of making you beg for forgiveness because you forgot something, and then me having to judge whether or not that was a good enough excuse, I'm going to give a bonus to anyone who completes 80% of them on time. So if you do 80% of them on time, you get a bonus. If you don't do 80% of them on time, you don't get the bonus. Yeah. I haven't decided what the bonus is yet. And it's not going to just be extra credit points, because the people that do 80% of them on time won't need the extra credit points. Like by the date that it was due. So each one will have a due date. And it's easy for me to measure that, because I'll go into Canvas and it'll just say whether it was on time or not. But these quizzes have unlimited attempts till the end of the term. So you can keep doing them, but it's going to count the last attempt as the time you did it. So you can keep doing them. I'm also going to do 3 grades for the quizzes. Either 100%, 100%, 50% because you tried, but you didn't get 100%, or 0% because you didn't try. You didn't do any of the, either you got no credit on the questions. Yeah.
Is the week 1 Tuesday, what is manufacturing? Is that the first one?
Yeah, but I was supposed to call it What is Quality. I'll fix the title.
Okay, it says allowed attempts.
I got to fix that then too. Thank you. But it's really unlimited attempts. So if that ever comes up, call me, text me, let me know. Because a lot of times, even if I'm not near a computer, I can fix that kind of thing on my phone. And yeah, that's it. So just do the thing. If you do all of them by the day after the lecture, then, or 80% of them, because people screw up, things happen, then you get a bonus. I might do a survey to ask what the bonus should be, because I really don't think it needs to be extra credit points. The people that do 80% of them won't need the extra credit points. But I don't know, t-shirts, Washburn Shops t-shirts, free plane ticket to anywhere in the world. I don't know. Something like that. Maybe a fidget spinner. What's that? Taps, yeah. Yeah, we'll think of something good.